Hi, my name is NUNZIATA, New York City-based director and creator of theater, television, and film, and a proud FENIX Global Artist Ambassador. Today, I am so excited to be interviewing musician, advocate for the arts, and educator, Marty Isenberg. For more on Marty, you can read more about him right below this video. But in the meantime, here is my interview with the incredible Marty Isenberg. Well, hello, Marty Isenberg. How are you?
Great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Marty, it is so nice to meet you. I've known of you for many years. You've worked with many friends of mine, both on and off Broadway, as not only an amazing electric and double bass player, but I also cannot wait to get into your advocacy work for the arts. But first, Marty Isenberg, here comes a Barbara Walters question. Are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Where were you born, and when did you realize this bass thing? I kind of like this instrument.
All right. So I was born in Portland, Oregon. I grew up there. I was there till I was about 10. And my father actually used to play instruments sort of casually. He had a mandolin. He had this bass guitar on the wall. He would play for us when we were young. He got cancer when I was 10. And that's when our family moved back out east because my parents were both professors and they had got jobs in Portland, but the rest of our family was out east. So we moved back to Connecticut. And after he passed, one of the things I did, to sort of cope was I started playing his electric bass that was on the wall, and it was a way for me to sort of feel closer to him, to cope with the loss, and it was also just something that I love doing. Like it really became a huge part about my identity and my personality.
Wow, Marty. Wow. Well, first off, thank you for sharing that. Secondly, what a beautiful way that you get to carry the baton, literally and
Yeah,
figuratively, of your father. I mean,
yeah.
my friend, you have already at such a young age traversed some of the best Broadway shows in terms of your playing for them, such as Fun Home, Tony Award-winning musical Fun Home, The Lion King, Soul Doctor, Kiss Me Kate, Off Broadway's Desperate Measures, and of course, every child's favorite show to come to New York to see, Radio City Music Hall's Christmas Spectacular. You know, I think it's also so beautiful, Marty, that in addition to all of these amazing experiences that you've had as a player on Broadway, and also in major festivals, you're just coming back from the Utah Opera Festival, correct?
Yeah, that's right. I just got back yesterday.
In what capacity did you play for that festival, Marty?
I was the bass player, the bass chair. This festival's been in operation for 29 seasons. It's super interesting. The founder of the company is this guy Michael Ballum, who used to be a big opera star, and then he came back and sort of saved his local theater in this very small rural valley in outside of Salt Lake City called Cache Valley.
Wait, sorry to interrupt, but that sounds like it could be like a script for a musical.
Actually, it does, doesn't it?
It's
Wow.
like the music man meets the opera star. Anyone? I
Yeah,
mean, am I crazy?
I think it could work.
Sorry, Marty, I just made that about me. Keep going.
No,
It's a
it's
problem
all
I'm
right.
working.
Anyway, so they do these like sort of classic operas with 35 piece orchestra, in the middle of Utah. And they decided to do this season sort of last minute, so it was a much smaller company, basically just 4 or 5 musicians, depending on. And it's a repertory theater, so they do 4 or 5 shows at once in rotation. So I got to play 2 of those shows, which were the Fantastics and I Do.
Oh, 2 amazing intimate theater pieces. Obviously, I Do for people who don't know. A beautiful 2-hander, I believe originated by Robert Preston and Mary Martin, I
That's
think.
right. Very good.
No, I'm
Impressive.
such a
Yeah.
nerd. Sorry, Marty. I just say things sometimes to make myself feel good about myself. My
Hey,
husband
I'm
reminds
impressed.
Marty, it fills the void. God bless America. And obviously Fantastic's amazing show as well. I want to know, Marty, you've also gotten to work with some amazing artists, 2 of whom actually happen to be friends. The incredible Titus Burgess and Liz Calloway. Of your concert career as a musician, do you feel that you're approaching it as differently as you would, being in the pit of a Broadway show?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. I mean, it does depend a little bit on the context. The performance I did with Liz Calloway, I was in this benefit concert for, gosh, I don't even remember what it was for. But in that concert, I was performing with a bunch of different sort of cabaret style acts. And Liz Calloway came on with her own music director, and we just kind of like read it through and played it. And for a concert like that, I feel it's very much like being in a pit. Your responsibility is to support the singer, to not pull focus when it's unnecessary, and just be a supportive player. In a concert more like I did with Titus was a CD release party he had, and this was back before he was famous. I'm not even sure if he would remember me, but in that sense, it's more like a live band. And when you're in a live band, like, yes, you want to support the singers, but you have a little bit more freedom to challenge the musicians you're with and to sort of make moments happen organically. It's a little less scripted, which I also enjoy.
It's amazing, Marty. Well, with your studies in both college and in graduate school, you obviously studied your craft, and from the doing, you've obviously realized that depending on the assignment, you get to then kind of take whatever tool out of your tool belt, depending on what is needed. And I'm curious to know, in addition to all of the amazing live performance that you've gotten to do, whether it be theater work, live concert work, festivals. When did you realize that you wanted to create a school, in this case, the Clinton Hill Music School, in which you are providing a safe space for students to not only study music, but also a safe space for them to know that it's okay to follow your bliss in music? I mean, A, what a beautiful thing, Marty. And B, I'm like getting a little teary thinking about like what your dad must be thinking. And then C, when did that all come about for you?
That's a great question. So, I mean, I guess it all starts with my musical journey, which is, I've talked a little bit about. But another aspect of that is when I started to get serious about taking lessons, and I had these people in my life who were these like brilliant musicians who challenged me. I mean, I guess like my first music instructor, who I sort of undersell as my like band director at high school, who would just give free lessons to anyone in the band program after school. And like I always had this little thing. I'm not sure. A little prejudiced against a teacher who didn't perform professionally. And I actually think that's kind of ridiculous now, because they're so important, and he was a big influence in my life. But when I got to in Connecticut, they have this thing called the Educational Center for the Arts in New Haven, which is like a half-day high school program for kids that have some artistic ability. And when I was there, I got to study with this guy, Jeff Fuller, who is a local bass player in New Haven, but who had this incredible career. He played with Lou Donaldson, who was a very famous jazz musician. And then he came back to New Haven, and he was such an inspiration for me. And so part of what I wanted to do with my school is I wanted to give kids the opportunity to have, lessons with like people who inspired me, who worked in the business and, but also cared enough about, the future of music to fully invest themselves in them, in the young talent. And it's, I sort of expected to find, some students that maybe had this similar traumas to my own. It hasn't necessarily been my experience, but it's fascinating to watch kids as they sort of, as music becomes a part of their identity for different reasons in their life,
Marty, that must be so fulfilling. And also for someone who's so young, to be able to also start thinking about legacy. I mean, not only are you leaving your mark on all of these Broadway shows and concerts and festivals, but to also put your name on something that's going to outlive you in terms of giving, again, that safe space for those little Martys out there who, just loved picking up an instrument and playing it. And it's a beautiful thing. And I want the audience to know that for more on Marty Isenberg, you can read more about him right below this video. And also I'm going to be putting a link to the Clinton Hill Music School. And Marty, I want to leave you with the last word. In looking ahead after this, horrible time that we've been living in with this pandemic, has there been any sort of, through your introspection, kind of a new view on what music means to you in your life, or has it not shifted so much?
It definitely has, and it's such a big question. I mean, like I feel like it shifted in a lot of different ways. Some of them kind of practical, and I just sort of how my life was before the pandemic, where I was running around, sort of taking every possible gig I could. And sort of the terror I felt when that ended, and eventually sort of getting used to this life where you don't have to do, you need to be financially stable enough to do that, but there's been a little shift in sort of my own personal relationship to work, and then the moment at which we could start playing music again, when most of my concerts were outside, and just being able to be around people and play again, it just feels like such a privilege. And, it's so powerful to be able to connect with other people in this sort of secret language that we share. Sort of my relationship to social media has changed a lot, like so much of making music has become online, and it's hard for me to have that same relationship to it that I have with making live music. I feel like maybe this younger generation is going to be more used to that experience. And, some of us older cats are maybe not. But for me, it's just the feeling of playing with other people is just, it's bliss. What can I say?
Hey,
I love it.
listen, Marty, I definitely agree with you. I definitely find this, for me, a newfound sense of gratitude,
Yeah.
and also just like a deep appreciation of, like, I get it. Like every time you're on stage, I hear you. And listen, Marty, I'm so grateful to have finally met you, even though I've heard of you for many years, and I can't wait for our paths to cross one day and to work together as well.
Thank you so much. This has been a real treat. Thank you.
Thank you, Marty.
In the digital age, artists and bands struggle to make a living. In fact, only a small number of artists can live off their craft. For the 98% of artists that don't have the luxury of being signed to a label, it's tough. But artists deserve to live off their art. Wherever you are around the world, appreciation of music does not change. FENIX brings bands and their fans together, whilst allowing bands to properly monetize their passion. The FENIX app will directly connect bands and fans with no need for middlemen. We're utilizing the blockchain to give the power back to the artist once and for all. Join FENIX, join the change.